Here are 7 small to medium sized trucks that I wish were in SnowRunner, and why. SnowRunner has a grand total of 42 trucks, at least until the DLCs arrive, and 10 of those are scouts. So it's not exactly difficult to find one you like, especially with the help of my best scout truck guide. But that got me thinking, which scouts would I like to see added? What would be a cool addition for the job of lighter deliveries and making your way up to those remote watchtowers? Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is what this video is all about. Now, there's a chance some of these trucks are available as a mod, but I play on console. Basically, I'd love to see all of these released in SnowRunner in an official capacity. Feel free to let me know what scout trucks you would like to see introduced. This is a slightly different video, but hopefully you just enjoy seeing some cool off-roaders off-roading. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Number 1, the UNIMOG. Every year there are 3 annual events in the UK called SMMT, and I attend the southern one at Millbrook. Usually you get to drive cars, so then you can write about them. But one year there was a silver UNIMOG, the latest version that is, which is a far cry from the 25 brake horsepower, yes 25, prototype from 1946. Obviously, I had to drive it, and quite honestly, it terrified me, in a good way. Not just because it's got brakes that do nothing, and then everything, but also thanks to the fact it's so big, you could accidentally drive over a bungalow, or another road user. As a wise man didn't say, with big truck comes great responsibility. It's also got a beefy steering wheel and more lights on the dash than a Christmas tree. This vehicle was actually designed to out-tractor a tractor, and it sure as hell felt that way as I trundled up and down steep slopes like it was a low curb. I mean, it can wade in water up to 1.2 meters deep, which is no mean feat. Despite driving it around a minor off-road course, mainly because they don't trust motoring journalists with the big scary one, and that's probably sensible, I will say that it's one of my more memorable experiences in this job. The thing is just such a beast, which would explain why it's been used in everything from firefighting and special forces military work to the legendary Dakar Rally. A worthy addition to SnowRunner, make no mistake, even if it's maybe a bit large for a scout. But then people call the Kodiak a scout, and to be honest, I'd be happy with the smaller, older UNIMOG models too. From Goliath to David, my next vehicle I would love to see in SnowRunner is the latest Suzuki JIMNY. Now hear me out. I had one of these for a week to review, and honestly, it was one of the best weeks I've had. It's a car that onlookers find so cute, they give it more attention than most supercars. One guy shouted "JIMNY" out the window as I went past. When I was filming it, 2 lads actually pulled in to take a selfie next to it and ask me what the hell is it. Except unlike a supercar, no one is going to throw chips in the window or key the door out of jealousy. Admittedly, the new JIMNY is largely similar to its uglier predecessor, which means a ladder frame, all the juicy diff lock stuff, and decent overhangs combined with a much nicer interior and exterior. But that does also mean it's hardly refined and prefers to be driven about 3 miles per hour slower than everything else. Although the car's so cute that no one gets mad at you, so it's fine. What's really cool though is that it's actually relatively cheap at around 20,000 odd pounds, although good luck buying one because it's so bad on CO2 for such a small vehicle, and because Suzuki makes relatively few cars, production is limited. In fact, it appears at the moment that you can only buy a used one, so prices actually seem to be rising. You would be forgiven for thinking the SHERP all-terrain vehicle is a toy because it looks like what a child would come up with if asked to draw a car. But this dinky off-roader means business, and its design is perfect for the task at hand, which is obviously driving in difficult terrain. Available in N and the beefier Pro version, plus something called the Arc that's basically 2 vehicles linked and has nothing to do with pairs of animals. You can expect to drive over 1 meter tall obstacles, tow 1,000 kilograms, carry 6 passengers, or 22 in the case of the Arc, or 22 animals, and climb up to 35-degree slopes. Just don't expect much speed, as 25 miles per hour is where it maxes out. But the SHERP's party piece, as its comically large 63-inch tyres hint, is that it can walk on water, like Jesus, minus the water to wine trick. In fact, there's an optional SHERP boat you can buy to deploy up to 2 SHERPs eager to conquer rivers, marshes, and basically where other vehicles would struggle. Though scouts are less useful in SnowRunner, this would be a great addition. Assuming, of course, the Havoc physics system is up to the job of floating vehicles. Don't get me wrong, the Chevrolet CK1500 is a fun pickup vehicle, but I think there's space for the Baja Rally-inspired Ford Ranger Raptor 2, which is the beefier, gnarlier, and generally more exciting version of the standard Raptor farmermobile. Compared to its siblings like the F-150, the Ranger Raptor is a relatively small truck. Because Europe. It's by no means weak though, as I found out when driving in Morocco's sand dunes at the European launch. This thing was not just capable of off-roading, it did it bloody quickly. Yes, the petrolhead favoured V6 has been replaced by a less exciting diesel. However, when it comes to speed and torque, it wins comfortably, and that's what matters when trying to drive up a steep and sandy path. Because you got stuck. But I will say that the various tweaks Ford Performance has bestowed upon the Ranger Raptor make it a terrain-conquering monster that's decent on the road too. Make it so, SnowRunner devs. Launching a vehicle amid a global meltdown is as unlucky as it gets, so it's no wonder early order numbers for the new Defender are lower, shall we say. Following on from a Legend was no easy task either, but somehow the new Defender is a solid attempt. Ticking both the comfort and off-road checkboxes, you get a multitude of creature comforts and impeccable road manners without affecting all the off-road goodness, such as all-wheel drive, a 900mm wading depth, height adjustable suspension, and diff locks. I'd be happier with older Defenders too, as I drove a 2 Series and it was great fun. Although the gearbox is tricky to get used to and it's disconcerting having to brake about a mile before the point you need to turn. Yes, the brakes really are that bad. But these off-roaders are a British institution, they're world famous, and they continue to do their thing without too much fuss. Some of that rough and ready spirit has been lost in the latest model, but it's still a fine machine that can wear Mother Nature like a hat, and that's exactly what SnowRunner demands. Somehow I managed to wrangle my way onto the new Jeep Wrangler launch, and I'm glad I did because this off-roader, especially in its top-of-the-range Rubicon flavour, is a monster. Though less comfortable than the new Defender, it's more involving and certainly no less capable. Because where the Defender can do everything for you thanks to clever algorithms, sensors and cameras, the Wrangler makes you do it yourself. And in doing so, you feel more like a champion as you conquer the great outdoors. You can have a short or long wheelbase version, the former of which is cuter but less practical, and the latter being a more serious looking proposition. Either way, the Rubicon features a heavy-duty rock track 4x4 system, 4:1 low gear ratio, True-Lock electronic locking front and rear differentials, and an electronic front sway bar disconnect. All things that make it a proper off-roader. You can even tow up to 2,500 kilograms, which would mean it could tow a fuel trailer or another truck in SnowRunner if you asked it to. And last but not least is a Ford van modified for life in Iceland. Okay, so it's hardly the most glamorous truck and this is a little niche. However, if it can survive in Iceland, where the weather and terrain can easily kill you, it's going to be good enough for SnowRunner. What you don't see in video games is that big tires and off-roading equipment rarely likes going that fast. In fact, our Icelandic tour guide joked about the shuddering you get at a certain speed that you just have to push past. It's unsettling and amusing in equal measure. Being rather high off the ground and having huge wheels definitely helps on snow, ice, and big bumps. Plus those front fog lights provide much needed visibility when things get dark. And in winter, that's most of the day, as there can be as little as 2 hours and 14 minutes between sunset and sunrise in December. Definitely not a place to live if you suffer from seasonal affective disorder, or SAD for short, which is the perfect acronym. Once I'd been shaken to bits, my reward, besides a drive in a proper off-road truck, was an ice cave. As with all popular sites, I was definitely not alone, but it was worth it. To be honest, Iceland would make an awesome location for a future SnowRunner map, and maybe a Ford van with big wheels would be a cool scout for delivering workers if the developer ever decides to populate the game. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I wanted to do something a little different, so I hope you liked it. As I said before, I'd love to hear what small trucks you'd like to see. There's a chance I'll do this again, but with some much bigger machinery. Anyway, take care, bye.